Subodh would like to term himself as an evolving product manager, right? And he works for Schneider Electric, and he helps to roll out products and solutions for customers that manage the energy needs in the most efficient manner. And before I hand it over to Subodh for his topic, actually a quite interesting topic on mindfulness and how it plays a role with product management. Thank you, and over to you, Subodh.
Thank you, Muthu. Hi, Sai.
Good to see you, and congratulations.
Thank you.
You've shown you're a growth hacker as well.
Thank you, and thanks to everyone who voted for me.
Yeah,
it was nail biting, just like Muthu said. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Yeah.
Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, Subodh, please.
All right, perfect. Okay, so welcome everybody. Thanks for joining me in this lovely session here today. And I'm going to be sharing whatever I know about mindfulness and how it could be helpful for product management. Right. So yesterday I happened to take my kids out to a lake near my home. Yeah, I mean, I know the lockdown has not been lifted off yet, but then I just couldn't keep them home. I had to take them out. So we visited a nearby lake. As you can see, you know, they have all their masks on and all of that. And they were very excited. They wanted to go get into the water and start fishing. Just a few meters away, there were a bunch of adults, probably people who live in the village nearby, they had fishing rods and they were trying to fish, and they had no luck. And I kept discouraging my kids from getting into the water, obviously, because it's a little deep, and I didn't want them to fall into it. And I kept pulling them back. And ultimately, my older one decided that we will not play in this water here. We'll go to another pond which is nearby, right beside that lake, which is a much smaller one, and we'll play there. And I said, okay, we'll go there. And then we went there, and guess what they found there? They found fish, and not just one. They found several of them. And here's a picture of one that we pulled out of the water. Obviously, we put them back into the water for sure, but then we pulled it out of the water, and they were very excited. They were so excited because this was probably the first time they were holding fish in their hand. And while all this was happening, I was wondering, did the kids just get lucky, or did they intuitively know that there would be fish in that water there because the water levels are low and they'll be able to get in? I don't know what really happened, but I definitely know that the villagers and the guys who were standing around, they knew much better about that place than we did. But they were not at that lake or that small pond trying to pull the fish out of the water. And my kids were. And I kept thinking maybe it was luck, maybe it was intuition. I don't know. But what if there was a way to tap that intuition to unearth opportunities like the fish? This was what kind of came into my mind when I saw my kids do this. So when I start thinking about a project or a product manager, right? There's several hats that he's got to wear. You can see this slide here, which talks about it. And a product manager has to play the role of a psychologist, a detective, a scientist, because he has to accurately frame problems based on steady stream of thoughts and insights. He or she has to strategize, define, organize, prioritize solutions one over the other, and pick out the ones that actually drive results. And then at the end of the day, he or she also has to mobilize the team and bring the product to the market. Ultimately, that's what he's there for, right? To bring the product to the market. Now, when a product manager has to wear so many hats, how does he manage it? How does she manage it? Isn't it mind-boggling? You got to play so many roles, and isn't it mind-boggling? And that's where I thought mindfulness should help here, definitely. If we can mind the mind, I think definitely a product manager can do a much better job of wearing these different hats. So let's see how that's going to happen. So I'm not sure if you are aware, but a little bit of biology here. Okay, let me try. So our brains are actually has two parts to it. One part is the limbic brain, as you can see, and the other one is called as the prefrontal cortex. Now, the prefrontal cortex is the modern man's brain, right? And this is where a lot of, you can see some of the functions that I've listed down there: empathy, insight, body regulation, intuition, fear modulation, and all that happens. And the limbic brain is also called as the reptilian brain. This is the brain that we have inherited from our forefathers, from the caveman. And the only thing that this brain knows is either to fight or to flight or to freeze under a stress response. The moment someone startles you, your heartbeat starts going up, you feel like running, then that's the limbic brain doing its job there, right? So this is one aspect to our brain. So you should know about the prefrontal cortex and how the limbic brain operates and what they control. And then this is a very familiar picture about the left side of the brain and the right side of the brain. We're talking about the analytical brain, which is on the left-hand side. And then you have the creative side of the brain, which is the right-hand side, right? And as we learn how to become product managers, product designers, we start learning methods and practices like, say, task analysis, heuristic evaluations, information architecture, card sorting, rapid prototyping, A/B testing, user experience, customer experience, and whatnot. We have learned concepts like principles of good user interface, user experience, graphic design, and whatnot. And we run all kinds of experiments and use data to inform design decisions, to take informed design decisions. And we almost turned that act of designing now into a science. So much that innovation is often cast as now it's a process. Nobody calls it just innovation; it's innovation process. And terms like data-driven design, they've all become part of our vocabulary, right? And these parts of our brain have a very important role to play in how we become better product designers, how we become better product managers. So as I was thinking, these were some of the questions that came into my mind. So how might we acquire skills to become great designers? How might we become more focused so that we can deliver one or two key features that would be more useful? How can I recognize my cognitive bias and work around them to get better at what I do? How do I cultivate emotional intelligence, empathy, compassion, creativity? How do I do that? How do I become more innovative? And these are some of the things that, some of the aspects that a product manager probably struggles with every day. This is an everyday thing. And we might just have found the answer. Mindfulness is that, which can probably come to our rescue here, which can help us do a lot of these in a much more better way. And I will talk about each one of this in detail in my as we progress, right? So so what's mindfulness? Just to put a definition around it, it's the awareness that arises through paying attention on purpose in the present moment and non-judgmentally. Now, this is a definition that was put together by Kabat-Zinn, John Kabat-Zinn. He's one of the leading neuroscientists in America, and he has several programs that's based on mindfulness and meditation and whatnot to help CEOs and to help people generally get better at handling stress. So for me, mindfulness is all about being in the present moment, being here, being right now, and being non-judgmental about anything. And you must be wondering, how does this all tie up to product management? What has product management got to do with all of this? You will see in a bit. So there are several practices for mindfulness, right? So you have meditation, you have yoga, you can just power down everything, shut off all your electronic stuff, and take a long break, go to the mountains and do whatever. You can sweat it out, you can work out, you can exercise in the gym, you could do that as well. Or you could get lost in a book, or you could pick up a hobby. There are several such things that can actually help you become more mindful about yourself. But what tops the chart is meditation, and to a very large extent, yoga also. It's very popular these days. Right? So Andy Puddicombe, I'm not sure if you've heard this name, Andy Puddicombe. He is the founder of this company called as Headspace, which is an app-based meditation app. It's a meditation app. And apparently, he is one of the personal trainers of Bill Gates and Melinda Gates as far as meditation is concerned. He's someone who has who has practiced meditation for several years. And when he did his research on meditation, what he found was that close to 47% of the time, our minds are actually lost in thought. So the 47% of, there are about 60,000 thoughts that run in our mind every day, right? Out of which 47% of these thoughts are just lost in thought. They're mindless thoughts. They're just running. They're nothing doing. They're just not serving any purpose. And meditation is one such positive, practical, achievable, and scientifically proven technique that can actually help you become more mindful, right? So let's talk about what a product manager needs. What a product manager can take away from, say, a mindfulness session. The first one is focus. Now, to understand focus, there's something that we need to understand about the way we think. So broadly, there are two ways or two modes of thinking. One is the divergent thinking, and the other one is the convergent thinking. So divergent thinking is where you use the creative side of your brain. You let your thoughts go in all directions. You're scouting for ideas. Like you said, it's called brainstorming, as we call it, lateral thinking, if you want to call it that way. And then you have convergent thinking, where you're using specific logic. You're focused on a specific topic, a specific outcome, and you're looking for answers for that particular problem. You have surrounded by facts, using those facts, and you're focused on finding a solution for that particular problem. Now, how can mindfulness help this? So broadly, there are two kinds of meditation that we can observe. One is called as the focused attention meditation, and the other one is open monitoring meditation. And I've gathered this information from various books on meditation and various practices, and listening to a lot of and reading a lot of articles on meditation. And broadly, I could classify them as this focused attention and open monitoring meditation. So focused attention is where you focus on either your breath, or you focus on a certain object, or you focus on a certain thought. For Indians, probably it's a little more easy to focus on a certain mantra, right? So the idea is to build that part of your brain which helps you focus, helps you with your convergent thinking, right? And then you have the open monitoring meditation. This is my favorite. Why? Because open monitoring meditation is like you're letting your thoughts free. You're just letting them run around the way they want to. Where if you can compare focused attention to a highway where the traffic is less and you're traveling at high speeds, open monitoring is little like getting away from the highway into one of the roads in between. A little more traffic, but you're just sitting back and you're observing all the thoughts that are coming into your mind. Now, when you practice these two kinds of meditation, you're actually flexing the muscles within your brain, which have to do with divergent thinking and with convergent thinking. And both of these are required for a product manager to focus. It could be anything. And there are specific reasons where you would actually want to focus. Obviously, when you do convergent thinking, like I said, you're working on a certain problem. When you do divergent thinking, you're brainstorming. You're probably having let's say an ideation session with your team. You want to do this. You want to do divergent thinking at that point in time. And open monitoring meditation can actually help you with that. Now, there are several methods and techniques that you can find on the internet and in the books with regards to how you want to do this meditation and what you want to focus upon. Choose whatever you will. But then make sure that you can pick up something that can help you with focused attention, and you also pick up something that can do with open monitoring. So this probably is a complex version of what focusing is all about, right? Here's a more simpler definition. This is what Steve Jobs had to say. He said, focus means saying no to 100 of other good ideas. Why? Because so that you can decide what makes sense to spend on what, time and energy on which idea, and what it doesn't make spend your time upon. So focusing means saying no to a lot of ideas. And I know as product managers, as CEOs, as leaders, how difficult it is to say no to ideas that come into our mind, especially when it's a baby that you care for. That's when it's your baby, when it's your idea. It becomes extremely difficult for you to say no. And there is a specific reason behind that as well, which I will talk about later, why we find it so difficult to say no. The Steve Jobs undoubtedly is probably one of the world's greatest product managers. And what I found out in his autobiography was that he was known for saying, throwing out ideas that his team members would come up to him with. He would just say no. He would just say no. And this is ultimately what he did, and this is ultimately where he got. Warren Buffett. He also had to say something similar. The difference between successful people and the real successful people are the ones who say no to almost everything. So why are these two, popular people talking about saying no, and why is saying no such a difficult thing? So this has something to do with a certain behavior of the human mind, which is known as cognitive bias. I'm going to play a short video here. Hopefully you can hear the audio. If you can't, you'll definitely be able to see the subtitles in the video. All right?
As part of an experiment to explore the human mind, we asked 22 people to solve the same riddle and recorded their responses. Feel free to participate also. Are you ready?
The riddle. A father is about to bring his son to a job interview, applying for a position at a large stockbrokers company in the city. Just as they arrive at the company's parking lot, the son's phone rings. He looks at his father, who says, "Go ahead, answer it." The caller is the trading company CEO, who says, "Good luck, son, you've got this." The son ends the call and once again looks at his father, who is still next to him in their car. How is this possible?
He gets a call from the CEO, but it says,
"Good luck, son."
But he was next to him.
So it's not the father.
I think it was probably an audio recording of his father.
Maybe he made it a demo tape.
Like he has two fathers?
This is a hard one.
Maybe it's a word joke, like it's the grandfather of the son.
No, I think his name is Son.
I don't know.
Maybe it's just like an old man, calling a younger guy son.
I have no idea.
The answer. It's his mother.
Oh, that's so stupid. Yes, of course.
I should have thought of that, yes.
The CEO is a woman.
so I'm biased in a sense. Is this about diversity and inclusion?
It's really mind-blowing, actually.
So I always thought that I'm not very sexist. But in spite of that, I think these subconscious biases are there in everyone's mind.
How much bias I still have in terms of thinking that the CEO needs to be a man.
Yeah, I definitely was picturing a man.
They identify with males more than females these days.
Why can't women also be CEOs or doctors or, right?
When I think about a CEO or someone that's high positioned within a company, I mostly think of men.
And it's a shame, I think.
And that's so weird, because I'm a CEO, and I'm a woman.
And I want to be a CEO. Why didn't I think about that?
Okay, I'm going to stop that video right there in the interest of time. So this is a cognitive bias. This is something that's been there in the back of our mind. It's always there, and it's very difficult to let go of. This is one of the cognitive biases. So like this.
As part of an experiment.
Hang on a minute. There you go. So like this, there are hundreds of cognitive biases. I'm going to pick up on a few of them, which is probably very relevant to a product manager. The first one is called sunk cost bias.
Subodh, just a quick time reminder there. Probably you have a minute to wind off, a couple of minutes.
Sure.
That. Yeah, please. Thank you.
Right. So the first one is sunk cost bias. And here we're talking about a tendency to commit to something that we have already invested resources in, and we don't want to give up on it because we've already spent a lot of money, and we don't want to do that, right? So that's a sunk cost bias. You're attached to something so much. And then there is a hindsight bias. This is about reasoning all the things that happened in the past and giving it a reason as to why it happened. And then we have the most notorious one, which is the confirmation bias, which is basically we like data that confirms our existing hypotheses and beliefs, and we discard the ones which challenge them, right? So that's more of a confirmation bias. Now, mindfulness can actually help you overcome that. There is something called as decision journaling. This is proposed by Daniel Kahneman, who's written this book called Thinking Fast and Slow, where he talks about getting into the details of the process of a decision when you actually make them, and start writing down the feelings that you go through when you make a decision. Now, how this helps is that the next time you're about to make a decision, you can actually go back to your past decisions and you can figure out what you are actually going through before making that decision. Helps you avoid that hindsight bias. The second one is avoiding multitasking. And the third one is definitely minding your vocabulary, using the choicest of words to convey your message, and being able to talk to your users in a language that they understand is very important to overcome this kind of a bias, and definitely developing a growth mindset. Right, so talking a little bit about emotional intelligence and empathy here. This is a roller cola which was relaunched, just a few months ago, or rather in October 2019. Parley actually came ahead and said that we'd like to relaunch this and we need 10,000 tweets. And when they actually went ahead and relaunched it, they got almost 200+ million impressions, 1.4 million engagements, and their sales this year is expected to touch 100 crores. Now, Parley didn't spend a rupee on market survey to bring this product back. All they did was to just publish that tweet there. And what they did was actually touch upon nostalgia, which is a very powerful emotion. So what's important for us as project managers is to not just notice the surface meaning of what our users want and why they are depicting a certain let's say factor like thinking or reasoning or decision making or logic, but what's the deeper meaning to it? What's the emotional factors behind it, the surprise, the anger, the happiness. We as product managers should be able to get down to ask those questions which can touch upon these deeper meanings. And when you recognize the deeper meanings, your user interviews are much more insightful, and you actually get to the root of the problem and you basically create that feature that you really want. Right, I think another one slide or so, not more than that. Creativity is another important thing that we want to really take care of. Here's a quick explanation of the various steps of creativity. Preparation, where you use your divergent mind to think about all the various ideas. You use incubation, where you cut yourself off from the ideas. You step away, and then you try to let your mind figure out the best idea for you to pick up. That's incubation. Elimination is where you actually touch upon, you find out that particular idea which is the best, and you pick it up to develop it. And finally, verification, which is more of a reality check, which is more of a focused effort. So when you do mindfulness, or when you do meditation, when you do open, kind of meditation, right? It will help you with the preparation, the incubation, and the elimination part of your thinking. And the verification part will be helped by the focused way of meditation. This is a picture of how the various brain scans. For the lack of time, I won't be able to explain it to you, but then it shows how brain activity changes depending upon the kind of meditation that you're performing. So my recommendation: try meditation before brainstorming. Get your team into a conference room, have a meditation session, and then get into brainstorming. And you will be surprised by the kind of ideas that they bring to the table. So mindfulness on the go, 10 minutes every day. Pick any kind of meditation that will help you. For people who are on the go and they don't have 10 minutes, then I say this is one simple practice that I pick upon, which is I keep asking this question: what am I doing right now? This basically helps me settle down. This basically helps me get present to what I'm doing right now and focus on this moment and doesn't let my mind wander. And the only way that this can actually help you, mindfulness as a product manager, is by practice. So having said that, I sincerely hope that all of you do well in your careers. You become more mindful of yourselves and the nature. and go fish for those opportunities. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Subodh. That was a great presentation indeed, and I see already several comments that that the participants really enjoyed the presentation. And yeah, in the interest of time, let me take quickly one question in here, and then we can move on to the next one, next presentation. So the question here is from Smithil. It is about, so we saw a lot of, the examples of how you are relating the external aspects and the intuition back into the product, right? So what principles would you recommend to derive product decisions based on intuition? Was the question.
Can you repeat that for me?
So what principles would you recommend to derive the product decision based on intuition?
Okay. All right. So unfortunately, intuition is something that's obviously very difficult, but then it's very difficult to tie it back to a product. We have to fall back upon practices that are part of product design. It could be user interviews. It could be A/B testing and whatnot. The various methodologies that we have within product management to arrive at such answers. If you ask me a percentage, I would say today it's probably 95% of following product management practices versus 5% intuition. But I would definitely say that when you meditate and when you practice mindfulness, the intuition within yourself definitely gets better and better, and that can actually feed into your inputs as far as your user interviews are concerned or product features are concerned. And you will need to get that validated. Whatever your intuition says and whatever you find from your intuition, the insight that you get from your intuition, you will need to get that validated for sure. You'll have to take it to the market, you'll have to take it to the users and see if they reverberate with that, if they resonate with that. If they do, then that is an immediate validation that your intuition worked for you. I hope I answered that question.
Yep. Perfect. Thank you, Subodh. I think that's a great one. And yeah, so a lot of those, what we are looking for, the answers just lies around us, right? And it is up to us. We have to find those fishes that is around us, and definitely followed by the
Sure. Someone is not being mindful.
Yeah, I think it's muted now. Perfect. Cool. Okay. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Subodh.
Thank you, Muthu. Thank you, everybody.